and also you explore a lot of different types of buildings. Some are more like private, for example, private households where families used to live. And I was kind of wondering if you prepare differently based on the buildings you're gonna explore. Like, for example, because I can imagine if you explore a private household where a family lived, then you have access to the letters, the photographies of the family. That must be like a complete different feeling to if you explore an abandoned factory, for example. What could you say about that?
I think in places like factories, hospitals, and so on, you've got a feeling of how things are working, and that's quite interesting. So I don't know if there's another possibility to really climb around a factory if it's not abandoned. Same
Yeah.
thing for hospitals, castles, and so on. So all this infrastructure stuff, it's very nice to explore because of the way it's working. Personal households give you mixed feelings for sure. It's like we always call it interactive museum, but we call every abandoned place as an interactive museum. But it's like you can discover history firsthand, and you've got this weird feeling of this stuff actually belonged to real people. So you can read a letter handwritten 100 years ago, and that's crazy. And this stuff, it gets wasted. It should belong to a museum, that's for sure, but it doesn't, and it just rots away. And this gives you this feeling and this insight of the transience of everything. So these were real people like you and me, and they had a family and they were living there. And then at some point, they died. Their heirs weren't interested in the place, and so everything goes to rot. And it's very private, and we try to keep it. Yeah, well, I don't know. We're still exploring the place, so this is this conflict again.
Yeah.
What are we showing? What are we telling? What's too private? There are mixed opinions on that. That's for sure. Some people say you don't belong there at all, and it's none of your business. But we say it's this historical preservationist stuff again. We can definitely understand that there are mixed opinions on that, but I would say the atmosphere and this feeling of transience of everything, this is the most dominant feeling in these places.
True. And there are urban explorers who go to places and have like a code, and this code is don't touch anything. So if they watch our videos, they say, guys, please don't touch this stuff. But I mean, we are explorers. We are there to find out what happened. In this residential houses, it's mostly a really, really sad story. It's like a sad fate. Someone died, there are no heirs, or the heirs are fighting for this place, and this makes them in the end abandon the location, and that all the personal stuff left behind or the old family photos. So it's definitely personal. It's definitely sad to be there, and we are there to find out what's happened and to find out why they don't care about this place anymore. There's always a reason why they abandoned this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can imagine maybe there's mixed feelings, but I personally think it's very interesting to also like mix the pieces together and get a bigger picture based on what you're exploring. And also there is a form of respect, I would say, in for example, I've seen your video, about the celebrity, the Italian actress. There is some form of respect, I think, in like honoring kind of her memory and sharing her story with the public. So I guess then it depends. The audience has to judge what they think, but yeah, I guess it depends on the viewer. I think it's really interesting. And you talked about visiting. Exploring. Sorry, private households. There is some recurrent pattern when watching urbex is that the places are often, well, of course, abandoned, but like everything is kind of shattered. It's kind of a mess, I guess, if I could use this term, and it kind of looks like as if inhabitants just left suddenly Do you have an explanation for that?
In residential houses, most of the time it's because they just died.
Yeah.
And then this air conflict is there, and yeah, most of the time it's some kind of conflict which allows nobody to take private property, and then of course stuff gets looted. So there's this explanation of vandals and things getting stolen, but yeah, sometimes we wonder for ourselves because
Yeah.
if you go to a hospital and you can still find the files, this is quite sensible data, and we don't understand why they don't even take this. I mean, I can understand that they don't want to wheel out 100 beds, which are quite heavy and not worth a lot. But this sensible data, at least, they could take, but they
It
don't
has to
do
be destroyed at least, and that's not that hard to do this.
Yeah. So no, not really.
Yeah, because often it looks like it was evacuated and people just disappeared. So that's also quite a strange feeling, because normally we're used to when you leave a household, you know, you take your stuff and then you leave. But you have a very different impression, I think, with urbex, because it's very like just kind of the people inside just disappeared in one instant. So that's very interesting, I
There
think,
are
to
cases where they
see.
just went bankrupt, and this means someone else belongs or the stuff, like a bank. And this bank now owns the property and what's in it, and they just let it rot. So that's like also another explanation for many of these places. It's like an easy explanation. It doesn't really fit the mystery at all. If you go there and see all the people vanished, and you think, oh, maybe they were abducted by aliens, or I don't know, and then it's just the bank who just don't care about this property anymore. Yeah, but it's like that very often.
Yeah, I can imagine it's hard also sometimes for you to know really what happened in a building.
Yeah, especially for residential houses. I mean, it's hard to find info online about residential houses and the families who live there. It's easy for factories and stuff. So what we really have to do at residential houses, we have to read the letters and stuff like that to find out what really happened.
Yeah. Most of the time we collect information, and then in the video we tell the story we think it happened, but in the comments we read a lot of abduction from aliens, or
like CIA agents.
They had to flee, or I don't know. They did weird scientific experiences in their basement.
But in the end, it's all just theories. So who knows what's true and what's not? We can't say.
That's another thing that fascinates people about these places. This mysterious aspect. So we see lots of ghost hunters and stuff like that. But to be honest, we're doing this for 10 years. We've been to places where, for example, big war crimes happened. People got tortured. So you would expect quite a lot of evil souls, or I don't know. But we never really came across something paranormal, even though we slept in lots of places. Yeah, but people they like to do it, this ghost hunting stuff, and all those places are mysterious to them. So it's I can understand this connection.
Maybe you have to believe in ghosts to see them, and we don't really believe in ghosts, and that's why they don't show up to us. So I don't know.
I mean, I guess it's probably you can easily be scared in those environments,
of course,
depending on your personality, for sure. Yeah, but it's true that link is often made with urbex and paranormal activities. So I guess it depends on the explorers, and yeah, I was also gonna ask you a bit about that, the fact that the places are abandoned, and with the environment we talked a lot about the environment, and you see, you know, nature take its lead on the human race, I think we can say like that. You also mentioned one time in one of your videos that abandoned places are not only a window to the past but also to the future. Could you maybe explain a little bit more what you think about that? And also I've seen that you're very for you it's very important, the climate and the environment in general. So how do you link urbex with the environment?
Go first. You go first.
Okay. Yeah, that's quite a big topic. So, how do I start? It's we already called it interactive museum. So you are experiencing history firsthand when you are exploring abandoned places, and often in a way that you don't normally get that close to history like you do there. So browsing through letters which are 100 years old, seeing furniture, fashion, in general objects from that, it's just always a look and often a travel into the past. But those places are abandoned, nobody lives there anymore, and you don't see any sign of human race. So nature takes over, nature doesn't care at all what the materials are, so it eats wood, it eats iron, it doesn't matter, it just takes a different amount of time until what we realized and what we created as humans gets eaten by nature. So if we don't care about the planet, it's for sure that human race will go extinct. And this is what we mean by taking a look into the future as well, because then our homes will look like those abandoned places now. We are no longer existent. So that's pretty much the simple explained bridge between past and future when you visit an abandoned place like this. It's a look in the past, but a vision of the future as well, a possible vision. Hopefully it's not the only one.
Yeah, and we are kind of like time travelers, so to speak. So we go to these abandoned places, and of course it's about the past all the time, but it also can be about the future, because these places, as you mentioned before, look pretty like a wasteland, like a post-apocalyptic wasteland. And when we started with urbex and saw these places, we always thought, nice, this looks like a scene from a zombie movie or like apocalyptic movie. And these movies always show an apocalyptic future. So it's always about the future as well. And the big climate crisis, I think we see it right now as the biggest challenge for humankind so far, and like a deadly challenge. So if we don't really start acting right now and doing more against like this big climate crisis, it will definitely destroy humankind at one point in the time. I think our generation is probably fine. Let's see. I'm not 100% sure about that, but at one point humankind will like lose the space, like its own environment where we can live. It always gets smaller, the place where humankind can live, and in the end there isn't much left. But as I mentioned earlier, there's always hope. I mean, there's always hope for nature. Maybe humankind will die, but we can't destroy the planet, so it will regenerate as we see it in every abandoned place. It always takes back. But this shouldn't be our goal. Of course, we should try to save people. But for that, we have to start acting now. And I mean, like basically every one of us.
Yeah, it's very bizarre because we are intelligent enough, that's for sure. We know what's the solution. We already got it on paper, but we don't act because we don't see this threat. It's too illusory. It's not real enough because we cannot see what's happening. And while exploring these places, we've got it right in front of our face, and we see that nothing
we
lasts.
See that will happen.
Yeah, nothing lasts. No matter who you are, where you live, it doesn't matter at all. In the end, everything rots away. It's kind of a calming thought. In the beginning, we were a bit uneasy with that because it gives you this feeling that no matter what you do, nothing lasts. But it gives you lots of freedom as well because of the same reason. No matter what you do, it doesn't last. So you can pretty much just do what you want.
Yeah, one thing I learned is stop overthinking. I mean, stop overthinking the past, stop overthinking the future, even if it's like a destructive future and all human can die. But you have to live like for the present moments.
True, and that fits quite well to your podcast, I think, because
Yeah.
we've got a very restricted amount of time to live, and after that, everything is transient. And so, spending your time following your passion is the best thing you can do.